Today we'll be covering single leg stability, specifically single leg strength, trying to improve your athletic performance and function in your daily activities. We're going to begin with the anatomy and biomechanics, then go towards all our exercises with the progressions and regressions so you can actually train that single leg stability. So we're going to go through the relevant anatomy. First, we want to bring back to my older video about the foot and ankle. So the foot and ankle make up the rotation of the tibia at the bottom of our shin bone. And that tibia helps orientate or where our knee joint is. So for simplicity of today's video, let's think of the knee joint as a hinge. So it goes forward, extension, and back, flexion. So we rely on our foot and ankle and our hip to orientate our tibia and femur in the right position. So our big theme here is trying to keep our foot and ankle, our knee, and our hip joint in the same vertical plane. So when we're bending and coming down, we have this good stability. The big no-no is called knee valgus. So valgus is when our knee comes in where it's like this. So when I'm on one leg and I lower down and my knee starts to cave in and maybe my hip pops out, this is knee valgus. We're leaving that vertical plane of having our foot, ankle, and hip in the same position, and that's where you can get pain and injury, such as things like IT band pain, IT band tightness, all those kind of buzzwords here. So the muscles responsible for this are our hip abductors and our hip rotators. So that kind of aligns our femur in the right place. You can see the previous video for the foot and ankle. And then we're going to talk about the strength of the quad and the hamstrings. So our glute med and our glute min abduct or bring our leg away from our body. This is important because this helps to bring the femur away from the midline when it goes into valgus. The abduction helps to bring it out to keep it in that straight line. It also needs good rotation strength because when you're on one leg and you're bringing your leg out to the side, your hip wants to relatively drop in. So it's the rotators of the hip that kind of help hold that position nice and stable. So those are like your piriformis, your superior and inferior gemellus, quadratus femoris, all those different kind of little hip rotators are doing their job. So the big overarching biomechanical theme is how can we keep our knee in a nice vertical position, avoiding knee valgus. Strength of our hips and our knee stability functional exercises are going to be our focus going ahead right here. The first functional exercise is single leg squats. We're going to start with the regressions and then work our way up to the progressions. So we want to get familiar with an offset variation. So most people like to do exercises with their 2 feet together at the same time, squats, deadlifts, leg press, those sorts of things. We're going to try and change that thinking to get to an offset and then single leg mindset. So the offset is a staggered stance. So you're using one leg more than the other. So if we're doing it for something like a box squat, this is a really easy way to kind of start building that single leg stability, focusing on the left side as I'm doing here before working in a full no-legged or one-legged variation. I'm using my right side as a bit of weight-bearing like balance, but I'm predominantly doing the work on the left. Now this does force you to do more reps because you have to do it on both sides. So switching here, doing the right, I'm pushing up and controlling down with my right side. My back leg is the working leg. And my left leg here is just providing that kickstand, that stability. For an exercise like this, I'd recommend people to do 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps. And we're really trying to watch out for that knee valgus. This is going to help train for people when they're running down hills or up hills, hiking, and they're finding stairs, or when they're finding in that outside IT band kind of tightness or pain in their hip as well. Once you mastered the staggered stance or the offset, going to a single leg sit to stand is another great progression here. So as you can see, I have one leg out and I'm using my left side to control the descent and the ascent, making sure my leg doesn't come into valgus or my hip drop poking out to the side. These are your functional exercises, things that'll help you with your activities and your performance day to day. To progress this, you can also hold a weight. But we also want to be trying to work on stability without having to sit down and take all the load off. We want to keep the force applied. If you have access to a steps or stairs in your house, or just a couple blocks in a step, I really like the side step downs as my full weight bearing single leg exercise. This is because it challenges you to control the weight down and up without sitting to take the pressure off. Again, what I'm trying to do is lower down as far as I can comfortably without my hip kicking out to the side or without my knee coming in for the quad stability. So I'm really trying to keep that vertical line as I tap down. This is a great one where you can have a little bit of hand support initially to really work on the form and get that control throughout the full range on the up and down. Again, kind of looking to do 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps if you're trying to build strength. It is really important to keep the arch of your foot engaged through this exercise as well. That's why I'm working out right now in my socks, because I'm trying to keep my feet engaged with all these exercises. A nice way to regress this version is just doing a step up. So really driving your step, pushing into the step and controlling it back down. This is a nice way to start if people have really painful hips or knees and they just need to kind of get the motions going. The cheating thing is people like to push off their toes on the bottom, but you really want to focus on that single leg drive into the step and to lower down. So both of these exercises that we've gone with the box and the step ups really work our quads and glutes as the primary moving muscles, but they train our hip abductors and hip rotators as the stability muscles, because these are our big functional exercises here. Last functional challenge exercise I really like is just single leg squats with a band around your thighs. This really helps to cue keeping your legs apart. To do this one well, you want to keep your thighs parallel throughout the whole motion. So it's as if I'm squatting, because both of my thighs are coming down together and then coming back up together. But you're trying to keep the band out to the side, and that tension wants to pull your knee inwards. So it really forces you to try and keep your legs in that nice stable position, working both. Now, initially, you're probably not going to get as low as you want, and you might find yourself compensating, bending like your back more to try and get more depth. Don't worry about the depth. Just really focus on training the successful range. So get better at moving where you're confident and stronger. And as you do that, you'll be able to get lower and lower and lower without as much compensating and then just hinging forward. So the tip to doing this one really well, again, keeping the arch engaged, trying to keep the band apart. You're thinking like you're keeping your hips level and that nice vertical foot, ankle, knee, and hip joint. And you can use your arms to keep your balance by bringing down in front. That's totally fine. 2 to 3 sets, 8 to 12 reps. Now we're just going to go through some specific isolation movements. First with the glute med and mid. A lot of people don't realize how difficult it is to properly abduct, so abduct their leg up towards the ceiling using only their hip muscles without lifting or bending to the trunk or using their TFL. Over-recruitment of the TFL often leads to a tighter IT band, which could potentially lead to more pain. So we want to use the right muscles. This exercise here, I like to begin with people until they master how to activate it well, when they're laying fully sideways on the mat, hips are stacked, heel is against the wall, knee is straight, toes point forward, and you just slide up to your end of range hip abduction. So you're not trying to go too far, you're not just trying to shoot to the ceiling like this. You have to keep your heel on the wall the whole time, keeping your toes straight, and I'm not lifting through the trunk. More mobile people will be able to get a little bit higher, and it is what it is. But the purpose of this exercise is to really feel the side glute muscles working and keeping that toes straight, knees straight, sliding up the wall to get that glute med recruited. Once you can do 2 to 3 sets of about 15 repetitions of that one, you can progress yourself to the side plank version. This is one of my favorites because when you're in the side plank, you're using your glute med as the stability on the bottom, but also actively on the top. So by the time you get around to switching to the other side, it's already pretty tired from working on the top. This is a great one to do for time. So starting with 2 sets of 15 seconds and working your way up to 30 seconds. The same rule applies. We want to keep your knees straight, toes straight, and you're just using your hip. I'm not bending through my trunk to lift up, and I'm not letting my leg come forward. When you find that your knee comes forward relative to your hip, so if my knee comes forward relative to my hip and my toes rotate out, I'm doing a really good job of recruiting my TFL. And the more I do that, it's not bad, but it could get tighter and reinforce the bad strategies that could lead to IT band tightness. So really trying to keep it specific right now to the glutes and hip abduction, because this is what's going to support our single leg stability. Once you've mastered those 2 previous floor ones, we want to progress to these standing ones. So now I'm going to do hip abduction standing. The key to this is really making sure our hips stay level and our leg is going straight out to the side. We're not cheating, bringing it forward and rotating. We're keeping it nice and straight with the knee slightly behind our body. So when you're standing from a side profile, it looks like it's just a little bit behind the body, and keeping the toes straight the whole time. This is going to help target it. I love this exercise because you get the muscles working on the stance leg. They're working on the stance leg right now to help keep my hips from dropping, which is their primary function when we're walking and running and hiking and going up and down stairs. But they're also working actively in their hip abduction. So to be successful, you want to stay up nice and tall, hips level, legs straight out to the side, having your thigh a little bit behind your hips, keeping your toes straight, and you should feel this muscle really engage in the side here and on the stance side. This is going to directly contribute to your stability in all of your performance. For this exercise, I like to focus on good endurance because you want these muscles being stable for a long period of time. So looking at more 2, maybe 3 sets, but focusing on anywhere from 10 to 16 or 20 reps per side. So here we have a whole video about knee stability, and we mostly talked about what the hip is doing to keep us stable. Our big functional exercises use our quads, our hamstrings, and our glutes, but the idea is to use those exercises to really practice where we want our leg in that nice position. The overall theme, avoiding knee valgus, avoiding hip drop, being strong on one leg. Once you have good knee stability, then we can increase knee power and knee strength to even further accelerate our progression, our performance. So get comfortable training with one leg at a time, doing double the sets and the reps, because that's what's going to make you a better athlete or anyone just better in your daily functions of regular life. Ideally, you want to do knee stability exercises twice a week. So picking one of those functional ones, doing them once and another one another time, and then working on the isolated exercises of the glute med once or twice a week as well. For our next video, we're going to be going through the explosive exercises to translate that knee stability to great power and strength. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and leave a comment below of something that you'd be interested to see next. Tune in next time.